All right, so what we're dealing with today is composite figures. And what is a composite figure or compound figure? It's just figures that are made up, shapes that are made up of other shapes, a combination of shapes. So the key is if you understand how to find the single shapes, you can add them together to find the bigger shapes. Now, sometimes it's a little bit complicated. Sometimes just to find the numbers is a little bit hard, but it's something that we'll get to. So first, I do want to show you one individual shape that we didn't get to, which is the area of a semicircle. Okay. A semicircle is kind of what it sounds like. It's like a circle, but not quite, not the whole thing. It is half of a circle. So the area of a semicircle is simply this formula, okay? So if we remember the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, that's the area of a circle. So a semicircle is half of that, so it's pi r squared divided by 2. Okay. That's how you find the area of a semicircle. Pi r squared divided by 2. So let's go ahead and do a problem like that. I'll call this letter A. Let's just say I have a nice semicircle here. There's the center. We'll say that's 4 inches. All right, so that is the 4 inches. So remember, that is what we need. Okay, now sometimes you might get the diameter, but in this case, we have the radius, and the radius is all we need in order to in order to do that. So that's what we have the formula. So let's go ahead and you can go ahead and plug it in and see if you're ahead of me. If not, you can just wait until I do the problem. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to use the formula. Area is equal to pi times radius squared divided by 2. I know that pi is 3.14. And I know that radius is right here, 4. So 4 squared. Now remember, 4 squared is not 4 times 2. It is 4 times 4. And I'm going to divide the whole thing by 2. You can do that all in your calculator in one step. You don't even have to press equals until the very end. Okay, you can do 3.14 times 4 squared, or 4 times 4, and divide it by 2, and you'll get your answer, which is 25.12 inches squared. That makes sense, right? Again, it's just the formula, right? Like we talked about in our lessons before the break we had when we were talking about circles, right? There's a circumference formula, there's a circle formula. And again, the great thing about formulas is if you know the formula, you can just plug in the numbers and you'll be good to go. Okay. The bad thing about formulas is if you don't remember it, then you'll be in a little bit of trouble. Okay. And again, formulas are kind of just like recipes, right? You need eggs, you need flour, you need butter, those sort of things. This one you need the radius and you need what pi is, and then you can plug in the numbers. Okay. All right. Let's try another one. Let's give you guys one more of these semicircles to kind of do on your own here. All right. This time the whole thing will be 10 feet. Okay, the whole thing across 10 feet. Can you figure out what the area of the semicircle is? You put in the chat once you think you got it. Great job, Nee. All right, put in the chat once you think you got it. I'll let you know if you got it right. Ooh, not quite. Make sure you guys are okay. So I'm seeing a bunch of people put 157. My guess is we either didn't find the radius or we didn't divide by 2. So try that again. Remember, I'll give you a little hint here. I made this one a little bit tricky. Remember, if 10 feet's the diameter, then the radius is 5 feet. Go to Maya. Yeah, so if you got 157, you probably did not use the diameter instead of the radius, which is a common mistake. So it's good we're kind of figuring this out now. All right, let's go ahead and go over it here. So remember the formula, again, is area is equal to pi r squared over 2. Now, again, this was tricky because r is 5. R is not 10, right? Does everyone understand why? Right? Because the diameter, the whole thing across is 10, but for the formula for area, I just need the radius, and the radius is 5. So it's going to be 5 squared, and I'm still going to use pi, and I'm still going to divide by 2. Does that make sense? Go ahead and plug that into your calculators. Okay, 3.14 times 5 times 5. Okay, or 5 squared if you know how to use the squared button on your calculator. And you should end up with 39.25 feet squared. Okay, 39.25. So yeah, if you got 157, again, it's because you used 10 instead of 5. So it's 4 times too big because 5 squared is 25, whereas 10 squared is 100. So it's 4 times bigger. All right. So now that we know the semicircles, we know rectangles, we know parallelograms, we know triangles, and we know semicircles. So now we start dealing with composite figures, and these are the kind of composite figures you'll see when it comes quiz time. Okay. So again, composite figures are simply figures that are part of that has multiple shapes in one shape. So here's an example. Okay. Find the area of this shape. Okay, we'll say this is 10. We'll say inches, and we'll say this is 12 inches. All right, so if you think you can do it, go ahead and try ahead of me, and you can put your answer in the chat. But otherwise, I'm going to kind of go over it real slow and explain. All right. Okay, so when I look at this picture, I see 2 shapes. All right, I see 2 shapes. I see a rectangle, and I see a semicircle. Yeah, everyone see those 2 shapes? Okay. Rectangle and semicircle. So in order to find the area, all I have to do is add the rectangle plus the semicircle. And then we're done. All right, so check it out. So I'm going to say the rectangle, which is here, 10 by 12. And then the semicircle, I'm going to add it to the semicircle. Now, this is a little bit tricky here. But again, now we don't know the measurements of the semicircle. So this is what we have to do. We have to think, well, this is 10, and this is a rectangle, which means this is also 10 up here, which means this right here is 10, which means this right here would also be 10. Yeah, right? You guys see that? How I got 10 for that side. So even though they don't give you, I didn't give you the number 10 directly for the semicircle, you should be able to figure it out what the number is. Okay, now Now be careful though, we don't need 10. This is just like the problem we just did. We actually need 5 right here, right? We need radius to do radius squared. Okay, so now let's go ahead and find the area, right? A rectangle, we know it's real easy. You just do the base times the height. So 10 times 12, which is a simple 120. And then the semicircle, we just did the semicircle, but we'll do it again just so we have it. Okay, the semicircle, we're going to do the area of that, right? Which is 3.14 pi times 5 squared divided by 2. Okay, go ahead and put that in your calculator. And we already know what it is. Since this is the problem we just did, right? 39.25. Okay, and then what is our last step? Right, last step to find the whole thing, just add them together, right? Just go ahead and add them together. Okay, so 120 plus 39.25 is 159.25 square inches. Okay, that seems like a lot, but it's not that much, right? It's actually not as bad as we think. Because if we think about it, we know how to do rectangles. And we just learned how to do semicircles. So it's something we can handle, I think. I hope. Let's do another one. Let's practice this, okay? Let's do another one of these kind of bread loafy looking problems. Let's say that this is 12 centimeters and this is 9 centimeters. Can you find the area of the whole shape? All right, put it in the chat once you think you have it. Oh, I need to do it too. All right. Good job, Jenny. Good job, Jeffrey. Not quite some of the other people that have in the chat. Double check it. There might have been something you put in wrong in your calculator. That happens sometimes too. Forgetting a decimal or... All right. Yes, good job. Kelly and Sophia, good job. Nee, good job. Okay, here we go. We've got a rectangle. 12 by 9. plus a semicircle. I'm going to go straight to the radius. This is 12 right here, which means the radius is actually 6. Right? The radius is 6, not 12. Okay. 12 times 9 is 108. So we got that part. Okay, this one is 3.14 times 6 squared divided by 2. And full disclosure, I actually forgot to divide by 2 when I first did this problem, and I got something very different at first. So it happens when you forget a step. So go ahead and put that in your calculator. 3.14 rather, times 36 divided by 2, 56.52. And then we add. And we should get 164.52 centimeters squared. Yeah, sound good? Makes sense? Okay, so again, being able to do the formula for a semicircle and being able to do a rectangle. Rectangle, I assume we can all do, okay? The semicircle is a little bit more tough. We got to make sure we find the radius and make sure we divide by 2. So 2 real potential mistakes there. And if you got something wrong, we can work on this a little bit more. I want to give you a different kind of shape now. Let's see if you guys can figure this one out. What if I had a shape that looked like this? Like a house. And let's say for your house, you had these measurements. We'll say this is, I don't know, 14 meters. And this is, we'll say 11. And then we'll say that this triangle height here is 6. All right, let's see. Go ahead and put that in the chat and see what we got here. You're finding the area of the whole shape. Find the area of the whole shape. So it's kind of like the last ones, just instead of good Jeffrey, just instead of the semicircle at the top, you've got a triangle on top. Excellent, excellent. All right, here we go. I got two shapes, right? I've got a rectangle. That's 14 by 11. So if I multiply those two together, 14 times 11, I end up with 154. Plus, I have a triangle. Now, remember the triangle formula from yesterday, okay? We've got the base. Now, again, it's got to be the same there. Some people have trouble finding that base, but the base is 14. How do I know? Because the bottom part of the rectangle is 14, so the top part has to be 14 as well. And then the height, remember we look for the 90 degrees, is 6. So I got 14 times 6. Remember to divide by 2 because it is a triangle, right? Divide by 2 because it is a triangle. All right, so we divide by 2. 14 times 6 divided by 2 is 42. So then we add those together. 154 plus 42 is an answer of an area of 196 meters squared. All right, let's do one more, and then we're going to move on to something else. Let's do one more just to make sure we got it. Okay, let's see. This is going to be... All right, can you find the area of that for me, please? Find the area of this shape for me, please. That's good, Jeffrey. Yep, that's good, Jenny. Not quite Nee, not quite Gabriel. Just think about the two shapes. I draw them separately. If you draw them separately like I do, you can kind of figure out the area of each piece. That's how I recommend doing that. And remember, the only one you got to cut in half is the triangle. You don't have to cut the rectangle in half, obviously. All right, any other guesses? Anyone else want to take a stab at it? Okay, here we go. So two shapes, right? Rectangle and triangle. And I'm going to draw the triangle straight up and down because it helps me. This is 9 and this is 15. Okay, multiply 9 times 15 in your calculator. and I get 135. All right, for the triangle, this is 9 right here. So that means this is 9 right here. And this height is 5. So 9 times 5 divided by 2, which is 22.5 and 135. So then we add those two together, add them together, and you get 157.5. If you made any mistakes, take a look and see what you did wrong. Maybe you forgot to divide by 2. Maybe you forgot to use 9 as your shape, as your base of your triangle. Maybe something like that happened. Okay, since I still had some people getting this one wrong, let's try one more like this, and then we'll move on. I wanted to move on, but let's just try one more exactly like this to make sure we got it. Okay, this is the type of question you're going to see on your quiz. So I want to go over it. All right, so let's go ahead and try this one, please. Okay, good job, Jenny. Excellent, Sophia. Excellent, Nee. Good job. Let's see. All right, anyone else? Okay, here we go. So the rectangle, 7 times 10, which is 70. Okay, so we got that part out of the way. Now, when I draw the triangle, I flip the triangle. So some brought up in the chat that you might accidentally put 10 as the base here. That's tempting, but remember, this is 7 here, so it's not 10. It's going to be 7. So I get where that's tricky a little bit. And the height of the triangle is 3. So 7 times 3 divided by 2. Which is 10.5. And when you add those together, you end up with 80.5. Right? So when you're dealing with these composite figures, okay, it's all about just being able to separate it into the separate little pieces and then finding the area of those and then putting them together, right? We do that all the time with things, right? If it's you want to know like, hey, how much money do I have? Well, if I've got $5 in my hand and $10 in my pocket, I have 15. That's the total, right? That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find the total by finding the individual pieces. And so that's why it's really important that we know the formulas for rectangles, for triangles, and now semicircles, which we went over earlier today.